YouTube, how we doing, family? It's your boy Yo, and there's another episode of Yo Hoops. We go through every NBA game every day. Today's Saturday, February 1st, and we have a 9-game NBA card. I'm gonna walk you through every game, let you know which sides I like, and stick around because I'll let you know my highlighted play of the day. I do this every day for free, so make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite games in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's recap. Recapping yesterday, we went 1-1 on our highlighted plays of the day. Our first was the Toronto Raptors laying 4 points against the Chicago Bulls. I thought it was a good spot for the Raptors being at home in Toronto, but the Bulls came out hooping and the Raptors came out flat. We dropped this one. It was what it was. Our second was the San Antonio Spurs plus 3 points and on the money line against the Milwaukee Bucks. I told you guys, Wemby went in there and went crazy. 30 points, 14 boards, and 6 blocks. He took out Giannis head to head, and he's on a mission to show us he's the best big in the league. That was an impressive statement win. Recapping the month of January, we're moving on to February. New month, new streaks coming. Last month, we ended 30-18 on our highlighted plays of the day. We hit at a 62.5% clip and we ended up 10.17 units. So up over 10 units on the month. We had an absolutely stellar month. On every game played, we went 121, 101, and 4 against the spread on every game played last month, and that's a 54.5% clip. Even on games that weren't my highlighted, we did good and we came out profitable. Let's have another great month, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let me get into today's games. In our first matchup, we have the Atlanta Hawks in Indiana taking on the Indiana Pacers. Pacers are laying 8.5 points, and the total is 240.5. The Pacers have hooped at home. They have a 13-8 overall record in Indiana, but against the spread, they're a 50-50 team. They're now just 8-7 ATS as home favorites. The Hawks have been equally competitive in this spot. They have a 10-9 ATS record as road underdogs. So don't be fooled, the Hawks are just as competitive in this spot. Looking at the injury reports for this game, Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard, and Enrique Freeman are all questionable for the Pacers, and the Hawks are without Clint Capella, Jalen Johnson, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and then Trae Young is probable. This is a similar situation to the Suns game yesterday where I thought Devin Booker would show out. He would come out hooping, hey, you guys shouldn't have snubbed me from the All-Star game. Trae Young is in that same boat. He's the best player on the court in this game, in my opinion, and I think he goes out there tonight and puts on a show. I think he puts the league on notice, hey, you snubbed the wrong guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Hawks win this game outright, but I definitely want the 8.5 points in my back pocket. We're taking the Hawks plus 8.5 as our first selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Orlando Magic in Utah taking on the Utah Jazz. Magic are laying 6 points and the total is 218. The way the Magic have been playing, they shouldn't be laying points on anyone in my opinion. I know the Jazz are on an 8-game losing streak, but the Magic are 1-7 in their last 8, so they are doing horrible themselves recently. The Magic are getting healthier with the return of Paolo and Franz Wagner. Jalen Suggs is questionable in this game, so he may go. He did go in their last game. But they've taken quite some time to get reacclimated to NBA pace, NBA basketball. I haven't liked what I've seen from Paolo. He's been playing horrible. The Jazz, on the other side, are getting even healthier. In this game, the Jazz will have Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, Jordan Clarkson, and John Collins all back and going in this one. I think this sets up for a perfect get-right spot for the Jazz to beat down one of the only teams in the league that I think they're better than. With the players going tonight, I think the Jazz literally have a better squad out there. We're taking the Jazz plus the 6 points and splitting it on the money line as our highlighted selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Denver Nuggets in Charlotte taking on the Charlotte Hornets. Nuggets are laying 13.5 and the total is 222. These two teams are night and day. We know that. The Hornets are a shell of themselves right now. They're still without LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Mark Williams in this game. That's the core of their team. The Nuggets come into this game at full strength. Both of these teams are on a back to back, but it kind of negates it since they're both coming off back to backs. Denver did fail to cover last night, almost blowing that outright win against the Sixers. That game it got pretty crazy at the end, but that just sets up for them to lock in today. I can't really see a path for the Hornets to compete in this one. 13.5 is a lot to lay, but I think it's the right move here. We're taking the Nuggets laying the 13.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Brooklyn Nets in Houston taking on the Houston Rockets. Rockets are laying 14.5, and the total is 212.5. The Nets are still banged up. In this game, they're without Cam Thomas, Cameron Johnson, Noah Clowney, and Bojan Bogdanovic. For the Rockets, Sengun is questionable. Houston has been dominant at home. We know that. They're now 15-7 overall at home. But when laying points, they're only 9-9 against the spread now. They have become a bit overvalued as favorites at home. The Nets, on the other side, stay getting undervalued by the books on the road. As road dogs, Brooklyn is now 16-9-1 against the spread. You've been cashing. I want to see if Sengun plays in this one, but even if he doesn't, Brooklyn's been so good at covering the number, I think we can trust them getting 14.5. So we're taking the Nets plus 14.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Sacramento Kings in Oklahoma City taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder are laying 8.5 points, and the total is 236.5. These two teams have both been disappointing recently. The Kings have failed to cover in 5 games in a row, but the Thunder have only covered in 1 game out of their last 5. So between the two, they've only covered in 1 out of their last 10 games. That's very disappointing, like I was saying. Here, the Thunder will still be without Chet Holmgren and Alex Caruso. The Kings come into this one with a clean IR. At the end of the day, OKC is a team you could trust laying points at home. On the season, they're still 14-7-1 against the spread as home favorites, number 3 in the league. And I think this is a good bounce back spot to beat up on an inconsistent Kings team. The line is efficient. I could really see the Thunder winning this game between 10, a 12-point win, but we're taking the Thunder laying the 8.5 points as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Washington Wizards in Minnesota taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wolves are laying 15.5, and the total is 221. Wolves have been hooping. They're currently on a 5-game win streak, and they've covered against the spread in all 5 meetings. We know what the Wizards are on. They're a generationally terrible team. They got aired out by 38 in their last game against the Lakers, and that was without AD. They're also on a 16-game win streak, tying the Washington franchise record. Like I said, generationally terrible. Looking at the injury reports here, the Wolves will be without Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and Mike Conley is questionable. For the Wizards, they're without Malcolm Brogdon, Alex Sarr, and Marvin Bagley. I gotta keep it real with you guys. This is the type of game that separates the boys from the men in this betting game. If we could just fade the worst team every day and be profitable, then a lot of people would be rich. But very few of us are profitable month after month and season after season. And that's because naturally we get caught in our feelings. I get it. The Wizards are terrible. They're the worst team in the league. Don't forget, the Timberwolves are 4-15 against the spread as home favorites. The Wizards are 7-13-2 as road underdogs. So you've lost more money betting with Minnesota in this spot than you have with Washington. I can't promise you that the Wizards cover in this game, but I can promise you that in the long run, you guys are going to be better off taking the Wizards in this spot than the Timberwolves. We're taking the Wizards plus the 15.5 points, and I personally will have a few dollars on the money line as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Los Angeles Lakers in New York taking on the New York Knicks. Knicks are laying 11 points, and the total is 225. The story for the Lakers recently has been the injury report. So in this game, Jalen Hood-Schifino and Anthony Davis are both ruled out. Gabe Vincent and Dorian Finney-Smith are questionable. And then LeBron James and Rui Hachimura are probable. Quite a lengthy injury report. Josh Hart is questionable for the Knicks, but that's the only noticeable addition. The Knicks have surprised me with how well they've played as home favorites. They're now 14, 9, and 1 against the spread, laying points at home. You've been making money betting with the Knicks in New York. The Lakers were already mediocre against the spread, 6 and 7 as road underdogs, but now banged up without AD. I think the Knicks air them out in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks are healthy and they've been rolling on all cylinders. This is an honorable mention. Back in our old format in January, this would have been the second play of the day, but now with our new style, we're only doing one, and I really like the Jazz, but I also really like the Knicks laying the 11 points as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Miami Heat in San Antonio taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are laying 2 points, and the total is 222. The Spurs game yesterday against the Bucks was iconic. Wemby showed me that he's on track to be the best big in the league sooner than later. Miami has been mediocre as road underdogs. They're now 6 and 8 against the spread in this spot. And watching their games, what they really lack is size. Bam Adebayo is their center, and he's only 6'9". That's not tall for your center. Going up against Wemby, that's a problem. The Spurs are on a back-to-back, which concerns me because Wemby isn't used to playing extended minutes, but the way the supporting cast on San Antonio has been playing alongside the alien, I can't get off the Spurs here. We're taking the Spurs laying the 2 points as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our last and final matchup of the evening, we have the Phoenix Suns in Portland taking on the Portland Trailblazers. Suns are laying 4 points, and the total is 228. The Suns do come into this one on a back-to-back. They aired out the Warriors by 25 points yesterday. We were on the Suns laying the 2 points. My only issue there is that some of their key players like Devin Booker did end up playing over 30 minutes, which they were up 25, 30 points. So I don't understand why they had a lot of their stars playing extended minutes. The Blazers have been hooping. They've now covered in 7 straight games. I mentioned to you guys yesterday that it's tough for me to back the Suns on a nightly basis because they're inconsistent. They are now 6 and 5 against the spread as road favorites, which is better than they were. But the Blazers have been exceptional as home underdogs. They're now 13 and 8 against the spread in this spot. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Suns win this game, but I do believe the Blazers keep it competitive, and I want those 4 points in my back pocket. So we're taking the Blazers plus the 4 as our last and final selection of today. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Let's go seize the new month. We got new money to make and new streaks to start. We absolutely slaughtered January, so let's just keep the momentum rolling. I do this every day for free. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo. And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.